Hi, my name is Davis Scott, and I'm a candidate for the master's program in educational administration. And today I'm going to do my first observation video. Today I'm going to be observing an 8th grade social studies teacher. Her name is Miss Kinberg. It's going to be her on-level American history class. Right now they're studying the early stages of the American Revolution. She was excited to have someone come and observe her lessons and activities today. While I'm in there, I'm going to try to have the eye of an administrator. There's a couple of things that I'm going to look at while I'm doing that. On our campus and at my school, we have a couple of different things that we look at. First of all, whenever an administrator comes and they do a walkthrough or an observation of us, they're only allowed to critique us in a domain or an area that we have chosen at the beginning of our school year. So I talked with Miss Kinberg before we set this up, and I asked her, just like our administrators would, like what her domain that she chose to work on for this year is. And she is working on improving her assessments in her class. So for the entire year, she'll be graded and critiqued on how she improves in her assessments that she gives to her learners. So in doing that, I thought it was appropriate for me to also primarily look at the assessments, just because that's what the administrators do on our campus. But I'm also looking at a few other things, just in case you guys didn't want me to be so narrow-minded or something like that. On our campus, we implement what's called the 3E model, and it's the 3E stand for engagement, enrichment, and empowerment. And in every lesson that we design, we utilize UBD at our campus, and in every lesson we design, we have to hit all three of those E's. You know, are we engaging the learner? How are we enriching the content, and then how are we empowering that learner to create and to genuinely learn this material? And so while I'm in there observing her, I'll also be looking at those three things. I'm looking forward to kind of having the eye of an administrator, and I guess we'll get back to it after the observation.
To add to your KLN chart is over. However, why don't we chat for just a second and see what you wrote down for Bunker Hill? I marched us through Lexington and Concord yesterday, right?
Yes.
Okay, like we know that it really happened. All right, but we didn't talk about Bunker Hill. Did we do this for Lexington? Did we do this? Oh, please do it with me. Okay, we're making an L because the British are losers. Okay, and also L for Lexington. Okay, and we're gonna turn our fingers this way and make it a gun, because Lexington and Concord is the first spark of the revolution. Okay, so did we write that word down yesterday on Lexington and Concord? We did not. In the box that says Lexington and Concord, I need you to write the word spark. Okay, in the box on your KLN chart that says Lexington and Concord, like in the box, like where those words are typed, that I typed words. I want you to write the word. France is in debt too, and France has a choice to make. We can join up with our enemy's colonists that are trying to break free and hope we all win and defeat a bully, or we can let the bully keep bullying us. And they choose to join up and try to help defeat the bully. Okay, so we're going to look a little bit more at Saratoga. And after you read this and answer the questions, you're going to do your second blog entry. So our first one is Lexington and Concord, right? You should have a blog entry from your perspective about Lexington and Concord. We're going to now do a new blog post after you read and answer these questions, and it's right here on the board. So from the perspective of your role and your current side, so Loyalist, Patriot, Neutral, write a blog entry about Saratoga. So what I mean is, let me say it in blog lingo. We created a blog weeks ago. That's like our book. I'm not asking you to create a new book. You've already created it. Okay? Last time when we were doing the colonies stuff, you guys created a page. The page didn't work out well for everybody. So instead of making a page, all I'm asking you to do is open your blog and post to it like you would post on Instagram or Facebook. You're just posting to your blog. Okay? And this post is going to be called Saratoga. So, do this page first. Further instructions are on the board. And I'm going to give you a total of, like, let's say that you can read and answer these questions in 10 minutes. And then I'm going to give you 10 minutes to work on your blog. So I'm going to set a timer for 10. 10 minutes. We'll reconvene our convo. Okay, so you're reading and answering. Okay, you've got 9 minutes and 20 seconds to read and answer the questions.
It says the war as.
Shouldn't even say as. It should say had.
This says list the reasons why the delay.
I know. People, give me some grace for having a small child and it's been a time change. I have left words off. Okay, so number 1 says, list 3 reasons why the delay between the 2 days of fighting was bad for the British. Add the word was. There's also a typo on the board and I'll fix it. Fine. Okay, but your time's ticking to read and answer those questions. You can do it alone or with your table. It's your choice. Just do it. Fix my typo. 4th period didn't notice. That's either they were being nice or they, didn't notice.
We'll go with the nice.
There we go. Had turned. Now it makes sense.
Okay, got it.
What do we write? What do you think?
We're not seeing that line.
Yeah, it's on your. You ever had the Patriot Where were you? You have this. Okay, what were you? Loyalist, Patriot. Okay, so let's grab the Loyalist. Down to 7.5 minutes, so 2.5 are gone. Yes, darling. There's 2 days now. Oh, so 2 different days. Right. They're separated by much time, but there was a day of fighting and then a separation and then a day of fighting. So a day and a day. Not back to back. That thread is the way for her.
I have a small girl.
Read and answer.
Yeah, thanks.
That was the first round.
Oh, thank you.
And they ran short on they had more supply. She ran short of them, but they were getting. I said they ran short of them.
I said they're enemy.
What nation joined? What nation?
It was cold, so my your smallest soldiers retired.
I would be an American forces.
Yeah, I do that. They got lucky or more surprised.
They ran short on military
Help supply.
From their windows.
Yeah, this is help supply.
Yeah, literally says farmers, animals, and crops were taken by the American army.
Citizens of the city of Albany melted away from the windows, so the troops could escape.
because foreign militia soldiers that just came regular soldiers. You were stronger military, so they had more supplies.
What was in the disposal?
The British. The militia soldiers.
Hey, Miss Kinberg,
Yes.
out of curiosity, what is your domain for this year? Like that you're
It is
being
assessment.
evaluated? Assessment.
So using student data to create assessment, and so that could be formative or summative,
Nice.
and yeah. So some formative things are my I can statements.
Mhm,
So
yeah.
they are going to be challenged to use those to create, to prove to me that they know why this is the spark, the
Yeah.
turning point, the low point, whatever. And
Cool.
yeah, it's kind of a different domain because it's our data for our summative assessments is not coming from them. It's coming from previous years and STAR test. And so then we use that data after the test to see what we need to readdress. And we're working on maybe for our government unit doing a pre-summative test. So we teach the unit, you take a main concept test that's ungraded, or it's graded but it's scored but not graded, and then we have a week built in to readdress and reteach. Because that's the problem, is you try to formatively assess and go throughout and try to change things as you go, but then once you take the test, a lot of times it's like, well, we took that, great. Here's this one day of analysis, hope this helps.
Yeah.
But if we do like, it's just an idea. It's a work in progress. So, yeah. I'm excited.
Surrendered. You got supplies, needed supplies, soldiers, support.
Call it Saratoga. Hey, Maya, what's up?
October 7th. October what? 7th.
No, so as a new school, you're going to think, how do I feel about difference? How I am with the colonies, how do I feel about are now winning. We are now one nation and ally. So think about that. Okay, don't put a practice. Yes. Yeah, the job is never gonna change. You're just okay, guys, we should all be moving towards our blog at this point. You got about 48 seconds before I'd like for you to be looking at your blog. And we're going to clarify that together in about 37 seconds.
We're just talking about how we don't care. 10
Just talking about the events and how you don't care about how many people died.
And how we're like, it's okay. Oh, you have people are dying.
Okay, do you know the sound by voice clap one? Alright guys, let's clarify our blog entry. Now that you've looked at Saratoga a little bit deeper, loyalists, you are going to be looking, raise your hand if you are a loyalist. Do I have any in here? Hagen, that would explain why you wanted England to win the war. Okay, so our loyalists here, you guys are looking at Saratoga and you should be thinking, okay, but now it's a we, remember? The loyalists are still Americans too, even though they don't want to be. Okay, so now you're looking and saying we're winning and we have an ally. And loyalists, you need to talk about how you feel about that. Patriots, same thing, but you're going to talk about it obviously in a better way, right? You're going to think that that's better than the loyalists are. Neutrals, you're going to need to think, we're winning and we have an ally. So, neutrals, does that scare you? Does that make you more of a loyalist? More of a patriot? Does it excite you? Maybe you think, whoa, I was on the fence, kind of like France was, but now I'd like to join this side. So you need to really actually think a little bit more deeply than just people died and I don't care. Right, my friends up front? Okay, yeah. All right, so I'm going to set a timer now for 9 minutes. I'm going to give you 9 minutes to work on that blog entry. Yes, Hagen? You can. We're going to do another round for 9 minutes. Cross your fingers. Keep your fingers crossed, Hagen.
Basically, friends help. I'm 16.
Yes, Akshay, I am psychic, which is why I'm constantly asking you people to tell me things. If I was psychic, I could just do this. Got it. And I don't know if psychic is what you mean. Do you mean mind reader?
It's
I'm
psychic.
so thankful I'm not a mind reader.
I wish I was a mother.
No, you really don't.
You can hear everybody's voices.
Well, no, you could
And
just
you
be
think
like,
you're crazy.
Yeah. You could like turn it on and off.
yeah, you could be like, boom, and then you could be like, no.
So you have to focus on the person.
Yeah,
Yeah, you have to look at them
yeah.
like a
I
real
don't
psychic.
want anyone to read my brain. Actually, I do, because then maybe someone can help me make sense of what's going on in there.
Well, I can read Jan's brain.
I can read it.
Well, we all
It's
can do
give
that.
nothing.
Just kidding. Okay. Blogging.
I can read it too.
What's the
Jan,
billing?
you think was a weird thing.
Remember, your entries are just long enough to cover what we're talking about. It's not a book, it's not an essay, unless you need it to be. Some of us need to use more words.
I know all
Did you
about
have
that.
one you wanted to share?
Yeah. That's Sonia for you.
You can just copy and paste. Okay, so a 30-page short story is not short. I could have written more. Okay, it is not
No, I'm not. I'm gonna be out that morning. I see why you're laughing at me. No, I'm gonna be out that morning.
How do you do it?
No.
Why would you get any video? How do you do
I have to wake up earlier, Shayna. You hate the red. That is Mr. Steve. He has to do
Okay. I'm just letting you remind everybody because you have the same game basically.
Okay. Things that you do it's your job to remember because you know I will forget. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna
Write it like
and I do it just up here and like and I just lay it on the table. And their names. It's the class you love. You can do it. You got it. So that's your part. Okay. And then I was going to, but there's just so much going on. I'd rather hear
Is that yours, Jen? That I gave you? So many teachers.
Yes, guys, y'all have about 4 minutes left before we move to the next part.
I'm done.
1 second, no, 2 seconds.
What a day.
What was that? I just went.
Cool.
Nico asked me stuff before this. What it is. And right when she told me, he points her finger to see.
And then
No, Raleigh goes up to
Staff turning off the district is making me angry. That is always.
Okay.
Why are you? Why is this happening?
Imagine this is the basketball you right now and you shot it this way in the airplane.
I have the heat and sweat content of a 900-pound man.
An elephant?
Basically. That is how my life goes. Like, the fact that I can't roll my sleeves up and it will come up is driving me insane.
I'm not even
hard up there.
Okay, think you know the sound of my voice. Clap once. All right, let's talk blog problem shooting, troubleshooting, whatever. Okay, things we've noticed is that sometimes in the app, it's not letting people publish today for some reason, but it will let you save. So save it and then go in through the internet, open Blogger again and try to publish. You may need to try it on a computer, not an iPad. If it won't let you save or do anything, Jonathan over here is taking a screenshot and he's going to try a different route later and he's just going to upload his picture, okay, into the blog, and I'll just click on his image to read his blog entry. That's fine. So there's think through the issue. If it's not going to let you do it, come up with another way. Okay, and we've got about 3 minutes left before we move to the last thing we're going to start today. Are you ready?
6th period.
Sounds like
I fourth period is science. We do like 20 minutes worth of stuff and we just talk to it. I know, I'm gonna show you my notes from just today. These are my notes from just today. I'm making makes us write so much. No, he said he told us we were gonna write like something short and like at the end of this 4 pages. It's like 25 slides. It wasn't like it was like a, and they were like the No, it was like the ones that used the first
That sounds like a story to you.
They keep turning off.
the East.
Just have the same goals I hate it. Alright. Time is basically up. We're working on your blog, so we are doing another morale roll. Look up at the board. Saratoga's over. There's the timer. Okay, Saratoga's over, and we're going to do a morale roll to see if any of you are switching sides. So, we did this yesterday. The instructions are on the board. You've got 1 minute. Roll the die.
You have to roll higher than you roll.
Dice. I'm missing one. Why?
I can roll the same mistake. Okay, I have to roll more.
Yeah, so this is your current morale number. You may have had to change yesterday. This is the current one. Read the instructions for what to do. Hey, y'all are going to have to roll first.
Okay, I'll roll first.
You're the one who stays. Yeah, what's
That's your complicated. I just wish
This is great.
This is fun.
So they pick like randomly at the beginning and so now they're kind of like going from side like back to back. And now Valley Forge is next.
Oh, I know what to do now. Sorry.
you're not doing it, right? You're not telling me. That's what they got the last name from. He's not dead. He's not dead. He's a character. He's not dead. He's your team.
Okay, raise your hand if you switch. Who'd like to
got switched.
Hagen, did you really or did you manipulate?
I got a 6.
You really did?
Yes.
You didn't go 6, drop.
No, I got a 6.
You really did? Okay, good. Okay, so you have switched or not. And neutrals, you are about to not exist anymore. You're gonna have to pick a side. Alright. I've walked around and given your group 1 to 2 packets about Valley Forge. If you would like your own copy, take a picture of it with your iPad and follow along on your iPad. Let's start Valley Forge. Read, go.
Alright, kids.
I'm neutral.
Did y'all read them?
I was a neutral.
Thank you. Oh, yeah. You were neutral, and now you're not. What are they now? Well, it says right here. Just pick one.
What are you? I'm a Patriot. What happens if I roll a 1?
Any neutrals here?
I need the white one.
You're gonna have to change all of your terminations if you.
No, it's just how it goes from now on.
Oh, now I'm a Patriot. Wait, do we have to change it on our paper?
On your paper, yeah. Keep you on it. You can't be.
I'm a loyalist, guys. You guys are sure. He heard his eye doing I'm done. He's actually really, he's actually like really good. Right now, the thing is like failing all the classes. It wasn't like really races.
No, take Make sure you get under it. So it doesn't even I can.
What? Saying stay. It's dead. The battery is Okay, so tomorrow we're going to continue right here with Valley Forge. It'll be on your desk when you walk in. Okay, but what I need right now is your packets and your dice. I will be right here to collect these things. And I'm missing a die. Like, it should be here.
All right, so we are back, and now it's time to do a little reflection on what I just got to observe. So I'm going to be looking at quite a few notes. I took quite a few notes while I was in there, and I'll also be referencing the Gibbs reflective cycle as well as some of the other documents that our campus uses to observe. And those are things that I got from my mentor and and also my team lead. So, okay, first thing, I want to describe it. I want to describe the activity and my observation based off of that 3E model that I was discussing in my intro. So here's some of the things that I just saw. All right, I thought she did a really good job of allowing the process of like critical thinking and problem solving to be in the classroom. I thought that the students were challenged throughout the lesson. And just as a quick side note, she's an 8th grade teacher. I'm a 7th grade teacher. A lot of these students that were in that class I saw last year. And these were kids that, frankly, as the observation went on, I was pretty surprised at their level of engagement. It's something that, we'll go into it more later, but I think she's established a really good rapport with her students, and I think that's really paying off in their attention and engagement in the lesson. So let's focus on the engagement some more. I thought that she did a good job of including like real world questions. All right, that's something that our campus is really trying to focus on, is how can we relate all of the content that are in these TEKS and in our textbooks, how can we actually make them real and like genuine questions? And I thought she did a good job of incorporating a lot of that into her lesson. I thought her use of like what loyalties would these students have? You know, were they going to be patriots or loyalists or undecided? And I think she did a good job of relating those things to like modern day stances on things. I thought there was a very clear purpose, and that purpose was communicated. Just her entire lesson, from the very moment that it started, the students knew what they were going to be doing. They knew what they were going to be learning about. It was written up on the boards. We had good objectives. This teacher especially does a good job of writing I can statements, and at the beginning of the class, she went over the I can statements. I didn't film that part. And then at the end of class, the students actually write out their I can statements. And so they have this whole journal. She actually puts it in blog form, in digital form, of these I can statements, and I think it really, and we'll get like that's a different E, but it really empowers the learner to take responsibility for their learning. What else? She did a great job of utilizing our school's one-to-one technology plan. Each student had their iPad. They used it appropriately. I didn't see any technology violations taking place. You know, the students were focused on her when they needed to be focused on her. They were focused on a smart board, you know, whenever they needed to, and then they were able to go individually and focus on their own iPads and learn on their own. And I thought that she did a really good job of facilitating those responsibilities and making sure that the students were on task at all times. She allowed an adequate amount of time for reflection as well. I think that's something that our campus kind of struggles at because we're a very quick and fast-paced campus, that we don't allow adequate time for students to like process and reflect back on the things they've learned. We do something and then we like very quickly move on to the next, and students are constantly just taking information and absorbing it and then pushing it back because they're like bombarded with 1,000 other things. And so the learning, like, I think is really like genuine learning, like takes place whenever that content is absorbed and like retained. And a really good way to do that is reflection, which she utilized. Let's see. What do I have here? Time. Just something as simple as time. There's no wasted time at all in the lesson. And you know, our school is, or our campus, teachers just don't sit down, which is great. You know, we don't sit. We are constantly moving. It is, our administrators are constantly telling us that we need to be more tired than the students at the end of the day. And I think this teacher really takes it to heart. She is just she's like a bee. She's going around to other students. Hey, I see you're right here. You know, what do you need help with? And not just that, but she's also jumping around to students who don't need help, and she's cracking jokes with them. And the students, they just have this face whenever she comes by. It's like they don't tense up whenever she's like next to like she's behind their shoulder. You know, they're relaxed. They feel, you could just tell she has this air about her where I don't know, she's just very warm and welcoming. And I think that's translated to a very like comfortable learning environment for these kids to learn in. Let's see. I wrote some more notes about that. Oh man, I wrote that she had a lot of self-deprecating humor, and that her kids were really responding well to it. They were just they constantly had a smile on their face, and these are kids that I remember last year. These are kids that kind of would come in a little sour and got a lot of drama going on in the hallways and at home, and I was just so pleased to see that. I don't know, it's like they enjoyed being in that classroom. Let's see. So I wrote down that another thing is that our teachers are not expected to do a whole lot of direct teaching. Direct instruction it's supposed to be pretty like minimal in our school, and to be honest, she used it a lot, but she can use it a lot because she was so effective at it. The attention was always there. Students were constantly engaged, and I think it's because she would have them. You know, if you counted up the number of minutes where she was doing direct teaching, I think it would equal a lot, and I think an administrator might be like stunned at that number. But then you kind of turn it around and you say like, well, look at the chunks that she was doing it in. She's up here direct teaching about, the Battle of Saratoga at one moment, and then, for 3 or 4 minutes, and then the students are doing a 4-minute activity about that. And then she like reels them back in, and she does some more direct instruction, and they're re-engaged. It's not like a 25-minute lecture that drags on. And so I think that once again, that engagement was always there. Let's see, what other notes did I take? Some feelings. Like I said, I could tell that the students were comfortable in there. The educator was definitely a master of the material. She knew her material very well. She's been teaching the subject a long time. And she came prepared for the lesson. And I mean, that could just tell by how smoothly things ran. She knew the exact amount of time that needed to be spent on each activity. It was just a very well managed lesson. Some of the things that I could have changed. I'm still processing that myself. Now, I'm a social studies teacher as well, so luckily it's like my background. And two keys that I try to design my lessons around, besides the 3 E's of engagement, empowerment, and enrichment. Sorry. Besides those 3 E's, I always try to design lessons that are immersive and active. And I thought that her lesson was fairly immersive, but I would like to see like the students really get more like active. I think it's something that could have been utilized where they weren't sitting in their seats the entire time, where they could, maybe, something as simple as like stations around the room, or it was something where they got up and found the buddies and made an argument with someone at the other table, instead of doing everything with their same 2 or 3 table mates that they had been at. That's an initiative that we're really trying to push at our school, where students can become more active. And what we're seeing with that is that these students that were previously labeled as disruptive and unable to focus, perhaps even like diagnosed as ADHD, we're seeing that like they're having higher chances of succeeding because it's like their brains are like working because they're like able to move around and to get their blood pumping. And it like as their body moves and is activated, so is their brain and their learning. And so I think that one thing I could change is just like kind of inviting a more physical and active aspect into that lesson. Other than that, it's like, man, I feel like if I were to do that same lesson, I wouldn't get the same results. But I think a lot of it revolves around that rapport that she has built with the students already. I mean, we're not even 12 weeks into the year. And I just really like that level of trust was just palpable throughout the observation. And that's not like, that class is pretty infamous for like being able to like being won over. So yeah, well done to her. Yeah, I mean, sum it all up, it was an effective lesson. Those kids walked out knowing what they needed to know. The way we knew that was because they were able to do those I can statements at the end, and really like all those students were able to write down that I can statement. And you could tell it was just witnessing the engagement throughout the lesson. Teacher hit all of the things that she wanted to hit before the lesson went on. And, she's a very unscripted teacher. Someone that, like, if the student, she's very learner driven, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If the students want to take it a different direction, she'll like toss out whatever plans she had, and she can go in that direction while still hitting all of the teaks and the understanding or the enduring understandings that she needed to hit for that lesson. And so hats off to Mrs. Kenberg, and yeah, that concludes my observation video.